Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Play, Pause, Rewind, our 119th episode. We are on time for a release for once.
Woo!
We're doing great. Niles, how have you been the last couple weeks since we previously recorded?
I've been okay. I've been a little sick, so apologies to listeners. I'm still getting over whatever I have with my cold or whatever, so if you hear some sniffles or some coughs, I apologize. Doing my best to control it. I took some extra strength Dayquil before we hopped on, so let's hope that helps. But yeah, I've been good otherwise. Still kind of, I feel like even though it's been a few weeks since my vacation, I'm still like playing catch up in a way, but whatever, but that's what life is, I guess. And yeah, that's how it's going. How about you, Dylan? How have you been?
Doing a lot better. I've talked about it on the show like in loose terms, but I was having a bit of a rough time there for a while, and things the last 3 weeks or so have improved. Having a good time, been hanging out with a lot of people, relaxing, seeing a lot of good movies, all that kind of stuff. Doing all right. And this week,
Good.
Thanks. Yeah. This week, though, we are talking about a film, once again, very exciting one. We are talking about Predator Badlands, the third Predator film from Dan Trachtenberg. Predator Badlands follows a young Yautja, Dek, on his first hunt in an extremely dangerous setting that forces him to join forces with a Weyland-Yutani android named Thea. Directed by Trachtenberg and written by him and Patrick Asen, the film stars Dimitrius, Schuster-Koloamatangi, and Elle Fanning. Niles, what are your initial thoughts on Predator Badlands?
This is honestly such a fun movie. We talked about Prey before on this podcast, episode 42 on this podcast. So I encourage you all to go check that out. Early days of the podcast. That feels like just yesterday, but man, yeah, that's crazy. That movie came out like during the pandemic era when it was just direct to streaming. But it really did deserve a theatrical release. And we really liked that movie too, because I think same with this movie, it felt very fresh, felt very unique in the franchise, the Predator franchise. And I think that's true for this movie too, for Badlands. This feels like a very unique take on it. We haven't seen a Predator as the main character before in one of these films in the franchise. So, I think that's a very bold challenge to take on. And I think it works very well in this movie, especially when you pair it with the Weyland-Yutani incorporation with that synth character. I think she adds a lot to it, and we get this nice dynamic between the two of them, and we get some lore, some mythos around the Predators in general. I think without the synth character, it would have been a very different movie. But it was I had a lot of fun watching this movie, and Trachtenberg. I haven't seen Predator Killers yet. I need to go back and watch that now. But in my book, at least Trachtenberg is like 2 for 2 on these Predator films. I really like Prey, and I really like this one. It's just a fun time. I feel like it delivers on what it promises to be. What about you? What are some of your initial thoughts, Dylan?
Yeah, I also really enjoyed this. Just a really fun time, and it's kind of just a badass movie. And
yes.
The music, especially, I really liked. Felt very in line with, I don't know, the soundscape you would associate with a Predator, I feel like. And
yes,
like you said, we've reviewed Prey as well, and I think Dan Trachtenberg has talked about this. It's like that movie is fresh in its own way in terms of the setting and the time period. Like obviously following a young Native American girl who does not have modern day weaponry to fight the Predator, but it is very much like a back to basics Predator structure, but in a different time period. And that really works. And this is fresh in another way where like we shift perspectives to where we are following the hunter this time.
Yes.
And that's really interesting. And I love like how distinct this film is from Trachtenberg's other entries. Like he really does seem to have a grasp on how to maintain like a franchise feel, but make every chapter feel distinct from each other. And
yeah. Well, what's interesting to me, like as you were speaking, like the original Predator, I feel like I haven't seen the movie in ages, but it's excellent. It's like kind of the perfect action movie, but in a way it also feels like a horror survival movie, like you're being hunted down in this dangerous environment and everything, and it's like one at a time your friends are falling and in these very gory ways. So in a way it's kind of horrific, and there's still so much action in it, and I feel like that this movie Badlands, it still kind of continues some of that those action elements for sure, but it's not as much horror these days. I feel like it's more like just this survival narrative, but through a different context. You're right, like we're seeing it from the Predator's perspective.
Yeah, it's like an action-adventure space movie. And embarrassing blind spots for me, I will say I still have not watched the original Predator and Predator 2. Maybe I'll watch the original one tonight if I don't have anything else going on. But I think I've just seen Predators, the Adrian Brody one from like 2010, and Dan Trachtenberg's films. I like all of them. I have not seen the Predator from who made the Predator? I know this.
The original?
No.
That's a different one.
The 2018 one from Shane Black, I think, made it. Let's see.
I don't know. I didn't see that one either.
Apparently, it's complete dog shit. Yeah, it was Shane Black. But I've not seen it. But I've enjoyed all of Trachtenberg's entries quite a lot, and I will say, like you alluded to earlier, like Prey did not get a theatrical release. I think in part due to the pandemic, but also maybe other factors. It deserved it, though, and I'm glad this movie got that because it was really fun to see on the big screen. And I felt like Prey was done a disservice by being sent straight to streaming, and this movie did not suffer that same fate. But do you have any other final non-spoiler thoughts on Predator Badlands?
Yeah, I mean, Badlands feels adventurous. It's full of action, badassery, like we talked about, but it also builds a little bit on the lore of the franchise too. That franchise up to this point has really just been action, adventure, and this one definitely meets that same mark. Yes, the beats of the film are predictable. You can kind of like within the first 10 minutes of the film, I think you can kind of guess, okay, what's going to happen. You're not going to guess all the pieces. Obviously, you don't know exactly what's going to happen, but you can say, okay, there's going to be this part, and then, the found family is going to come together, X, Y, and Z. So you can kind of predict some things. It's not the most innovative movie I've ever seen either, but like it took a big risk by making this monster its main character, and I think that's worth recognition. It's really just cool to see some of that lore built out a little bit more, and it's just fun, because like at the end of the day, I think this movie is superficial in a lot of ways. Like, I don't think it goes very deep on an emotional or personal level. Even with some of the mythos and lore building, I think it could have gone a little bit deeper. But, there was an attempt made with the protagonist's backstory and the motivation. And I think it works. I just don't think it's like... We just talked about Frankenstein last week, and I feel like there was so much emotion poured into that story. Like, it's deep, it's profound, like on like a human level, metaphysical level. Like, there's a lot going on in that movie. Here, it's like has a predator like hunting down some prey, and he makes some friends along the way. Like, it's not super deep, but I don't think it needs to be. It's a Predator movie. It's like it can be just like badass and fun, and it doesn't need to have like meta commentary or a lot to say, and I think that's totally fine.
Yeah, I think like just because the word superficial has a negative connotation around it, I think it does. To me it's less superficial and more just basic. Like it's not trying to have incredibly deep and multifaceted characters. It is like taking somewhat archetypical characters and it builds them out a little bit more. But you're right. It's about the action of the adventure and the sort of dynamics themselves, and I think all of those work. Because I don't think like what you're saying is meant to be a negative either. It's just like, it does the job it's supposed to do, right?
Right. Yeah. Like we're not reviewing like Megalopolis or like like some movie that like a director spent like a decade of his life trying to make and like is trying to pour all this meaning and intention into it. It's like, no, this is a movie about an alien creature killing other alien creatures. Like it doesn't like that's a cool enough premise in and of itself. Like that's fun. Yeah. So
we have reviewed Megalopolis though, so check out that episode if you're interested. But
I don't know why that one just came to mind.
I don't either. But yeah, like in short, I found this to be a very fun adventure like action movie that added a new flavor to what a Predator movie can be. But I think with that, let's hop into spoilers a little bit and talk about some of the mythos and lore that you alluded to earlier.
Yeah. So I think if you were familiar with the Predator series, you probably know a few things about the Predators. And, that's basically that they like to hunt alone. They like to hunt for sport. It's like part of their culture and their tribe. And that's kind of like very important to who they are as a species. And yeah, I feel like you should know by now, like if you've seen the movies, that it's kind of like this ritual that people that they do. Like you can kind of surmise that even though the Predators, actually I think that the Predator does say something in the original Predator movie, which is kind of weird if I remember right, but they never really say anything. So all of the stuff that you're getting is just like out of their actions and their behaviors. And this time, the Predator, the Yachu, are front and center. Deck is our main character, and the movie starts off, and we get like the context around him, and we get a language, we get some kind of mythos and lore, a little bit more expanded, but it's not super expanded. Like they talk to each other, and you get to see some of these clan dynamics play out on screen. But then, they refer to Deck as a runt, and the only way he can bring honor to the tribe is like if he dies because he's not strong enough. Like it's just kind of brutal. But yeah, I just feel like we already knew some of that information from previous films. Yes, it did build upon it a little bit, but I feel like they could have gone a little further. They could have expanded on the mythos and lore even more. But if they're going to keep making Predator movies, they got more opportunities to do that. And, there's plenty of things that we don't know yet.
Yeah. And I like on that note too, I do think from the ones I've seen, this is probably the most we've seen of their culture and home world.
Yes.
Aside, like we get a decent amount of it in Predator Killer of Killers as well. But not from the perspective of the Predators. And like, if there is a direct sequel to this, we'll talk about it at the end of the episode, but I'm kind of guessing we will see more based on how this movie ends if they choose the route of carrying on with these characters, but we'll talk about that later.
Agreed. Yeah. Well, and it did answer some questions that we've always had, like how does a predator eat? Like with which teeth does it chew with? And it's the inside ones, like the ones that are not the outside ones. Which was kind of funny. I liked that joke that they threw in there.
I will say, too, I am always a sucker for the found family trope. And if you have that in your movie, I'm probably going to enjoy it on at least some level. And I enjoyed this one here. But yes, you have a note about purist here, which I think is a fair point.
Well, I agree with you. I do like the found family trope, and I think it's something that everyone can relate to a certain degree. But yeah, I feel like if you're a purist fan, like if you've been watching Predator movies since the first one came out and you've been obsessed with it for decades and decades, whatever, I feel like I could see some fans having a problem with the found family part of the film, knowing the lore of the Yachu, that they hunt alone, that they're like very solitary creatures, that they just kind of have their own clan, and that's it. But I also think it works pretty well considering how he was betrayed,
Yeah, exactly. Like he's sort of an outcast from his tribe, and also this was something or part of a larger question that Dan Trachtenberg was asked about regarding like this movie taking a lot of big swings. He sort of understood that a lot of purists would not be on board with everything initially, but he sort of responded in part by saying, this is a quote, like, so I'm well aware of the nature of that, and of course we're taking such crazy bold swing. I get it. I get there would be criticism, but there's worse criticism in the other direction. If you're just retreading and remaking the same kind of thing over and over again, then not only will hardcore fans not like it, but it also just any fan of going to see a movie won't like that either. And it's like, finally, someone gets it. I love to see that. There's so many like creative heads of these franchises who are just trying to do the same thing or recapture the same magic that previous entries had. and it's like you lose that luster. You can't capture lightning in a bottle twice, and that's kind of why I've like respected him as a creator on this franchise, because he seems to want to try something new with each entry and really push the bounds of what the franchise can offer. Also, I think I mentioned this in our Prey episode, but Dan Trachtenberg, I just love, because he was one of the 3 hosts of like a YouTube review show that I used to watch in early high school called The Totally Rad Show. His Twitter handle is still like Dan TRS or something like that because of this show.
Oh, that's awesome.
But it was just like, it was one of the first YouTube channels I watched consistently, and now he's directing Predator movies, which I think is just a very fun like arc for a creator.
That's quite the glow up.
Yeah,
I love it. Well, and like I think we've talked about franchises before too, so I don't want to beat a dead horse too much. But like if you think about something like Star Wars too, it's like if it's just going to be the same thing where it's like a Jedi fighting against, you know, AT-ATs, stormtroopers, a Darth Vader kind of archetype over and over again, it's like it's going to get tired really fast. And I think Disney kind of figured that out a little bit. But, you know, if it's just the same kind of story with a small few adjustments, it's like, why am I watching this? Like, it's just the same shtick. I could just go back and watch the original, and it's going to be as good as I remember it is.
Right.
You know, so it's like if you're adding in something new and you're taking some creative choices, that's what keeps me hooked as like an audience to go back and get more and more and more. And that's what they're doing, I think, pretty well here with the Predator franchise, at least with these newer films.
Yeah, I think like Star Wars is the perfect comparison to make. And we talked about this in our video on the sequel trilogy, which we are both overall fans of, but one of the main criticisms I think we both share of The Force Awakens specifically is like they're just those elements that are just too similar to the original. It's like, why does the First Order aesthetically have to be just the Empire again? Why is there another, you know, planet-shaped super weapon that destroys planets? It's like stuff like that is just, I get it. It's like, you know, it echoes. It's like it rhymes, poetry, blah, 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 whatever. But it's like some of the things are just a little bit too similar, and this is in contrast to that. And Star Wars, especially with a lot of the Dave Filoni stuff now, that it's like it keeps getting smaller and smaller in a lot of ways, that franchise, which is unfortunate because I love Star Wars. But this seems to be like we're trying to expand the franchise into new dimensions so that it can continue, and it feels interesting with each outing. You know?
Yes, agreed. And I think within Predator Badlands, I think it works here with the found family trope. I appreciate that dynamic between Deck, Thea, and Bud and how it evolved over time. I thought it was unique, and it was something that we hadn't seen before, is like an actual synth working with a Predator. You know, that's cool. Let's do that. That's fun.
I also felt that like I like that Deck, our main character, the Yautja here, like found his unique form of strength in building his own little clan. Like he's the runt on his planet, and he's seen as weak and useless, and the only way he can like bring strength and honor to his clan is to die, but he found his own way to succeed as well, you know?
Yes. Yeah. It makes me think of this is a little out there, but RuPaul's Drag Race.
Of course it does.
So it's, for those who watch the show and hear, you know, RuPaul's Drag Race is a show about a competition between drag queens, and they're just competing for a crown. Basically, it's a great show. I love it. Great reality TV. But you know, a lot of those people that come on the show are often ostracized by their family, or like, you know, they are disowned by their parents or whatever, and it's really hard to grapple with that. And RuPaul has this common saying of like, we get to choose our own families. He's talking about, you know, the communities that you build around yourself to like fill in that gap of like a family. And it just made me think of that, and it's just so wonderful to see that a Yautja agrees with RuPaul's sentiment, or at least Deck does.
Yeah, that's pretty funny, actually. Let's talk about the setting itself. This it's called Jenna, the Death Planet, and it is a place. It is built up to us as a place that even the father, the like leader of the clan, is afraid to go to. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, it's so the name fits it very well. Everything on this planet is trying to kill you, and it's wonderful. I really like all the aesthetics of this planet. I thought it was super creative and really unique. Like all the different species that thrive here are just really cool. Like the live tree branches that they're like the first creature that we come into contact with, and they're just like never ending. They just keep going and going and going and just attack people like that. And I think that was super neat, and it reminded me of like that plant creature from Alien Earth. I can't remember exactly what they called it, but I thought it just reminded me of that, like the little kind of like antenna coming out and like sniffing people and then like jumping down and grabbing them, you know?
Yeah, so cool. The tree. I did too. The trees and the healing factor of the Callisk also really reminded me of the Hydra from Greek mythology, and the fight scene with the trees, like visually, it kind of just reminded me of like the fight scene against the Hydra in like the Disney Hercules cartoon, you know, where he's like cutting off the heads and they're just more and more and more coming at him. And that was a fun illusion there.
I agree. That was a good catch. And I really like the shard glass, or the shard grass, excuse me. The grass that is literally shards of glass. It was cool to see. I was like, oh, that's really unique. And I guess that could, in theory, exist on some planet somewhere. And like the little explodey caterpillar things, like when you touch them, they explode. And it's like, what is the evolutionary advantage here for this species? I don't get it. But it's cool. Yeah. So I'm willing to look the other way.
Yeah. Well, I guess it's kind of like bees, you know, like their main defense mechanism kills them. So I guess it might be a similar thing to that.
Yeah, but like it's just we gotta do what we gotta do to protect the hive or whatever. But I thought it was also cool how, I mean, the environment itself is really neat, like those poison darts that paralyze you, and the creature that's flying around above is like, it's learned that it can paralyze someone down there and then just eat them. It's an easy meal for them. It's like that's a really cool use of like natural selection, you know, of like how these creatures understand their environment and use it to their advantage. They adapt to it and kind of evolve to it. I thought that was neat. I would have liked to see a little bit more of that maybe. But I don't know. That's a side of me that just like is obsessed with evolution coming out. But I will say that it was cool how Deck, you know, our antagonist, used all the elements that he encountered on the planet to fight the synths at the end, like how he incorporated it, because he lost like all of his weaponry. So he's like, I got to figure out what to do here. So that was just cool how he just incorporated that, all the lessons learned, and just really neat. I think the only element of it that's a little unbelievable for me on this alien world that is entirely unbelievable was the little eel creature that would like shot acid or something, and he like trained it with by giving it treats and stuff. Like at the end, it jumps to sacrifice itself and takes the plasma cannon blast, and it's like, what? How would it know to do that, and why would it do that? But whatever. I'm willing to look the other way because it was so much fun.
Yeah, I also like that a lot. Like similar to how he makes his own like makeshift clan from the friends he makes along the way. He creates his own versions of the classic Predator weaponry out of the environment that he has survived and learned from over the course of the movie. Like it's very clever. It's a nice little, like, it shows his skill and his attention to detail, like as a hunter. I really enjoyed that element of it.
Yeah, absolutely. It was pretty darn clever. We've talked about the Predator a little bit. Deck, our main character. Why don't we talk about him for a little bit? I think I looked him up before we jumped on. Dimitrius, the guy who played Deck, I think he's mainly a stuntman. More often than not, I don't know how many other acting roles he's gotten, but it described him as a stuntman. But he did a great job. I think it was a solid performance overall. You know, I think that there were some times where maybe the Predator face looked a little cartoonish to me and odd, but I think that's just me. And just like when you put a Predator next to a human looking person, it's like, yeah, this is odd. This is very odd. So, but I think it was a great protagonist role overall, even though it was an alien,
Yeah, I think they pulled off having a Predator as the protagonist like pretty well with him. Like the performance is great, and it was a smart move to have him be like an outcast and an underdog from his clan, because it sort of separates him from the specific like role that they usually fill in their like antagonist slot in these movies. Like he has something to prove, and it works. And also like you get that little emotional element where like, oh no, his brother was going to protect him, and then the dad killed the brother and he had to watch, so he has like and he's dealing with like his feelings of loss and grief, even though he's not supposed to feel that in his culture. Well, maybe it's like a little play on like fighting toxic masculinity and stuff like that too. I don't know.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good observation, actually. Yeah, I thought it worked pretty well. Overall, I didn't feel a strong emotional connection to Deck personally, but I think the motivation was there. It was well set up and everything, and he looks great. I think he looks pretty cool as hell. I will say though, have you seen any of the behind the scenes?
Yeah, they're awesome.
Photos?
They're so funny.
They're so great.
The like Predator mask is like around his actual face, and then Elle Fanning is just has like blue screen pants on because she's.
It's so funny. Well, and then there's like some shots where he's like, Dimitrius, he's like in the full costume and everything, but he doesn't have the face on, so it's just like kind of just looks a little odd. Like, he looks really buff, and there's like, what is that on his face? And he's got these dreads, but it's so hilarious. Yeah, Elle Fanning with the blue suit, legs being carried around, and like they had to use like a special kind of machine, I think, to like make it feasible to carry her on his back, right. So it's like
well, because I like seeing the behind the scenes photos, I was thinking it's like, oh yeah, of course, like he's walking around with a whole ass person there. Like she's half an android in the movie, but she's just a whole person in real life, so they had to have like some sort of rig. And then I mean, what's the joke?
All the work that went into that.
Yeah, but the joke he makes in the movie too, when they're like trying to reattach her legs, he's like, easier to walk now, and she's like, yeah, I know, right? And he's like, no, for me.
No, for me, not for you, but for you too, I guess. But yeah, it looks so like those behind the scenes photos. They look so silly, but it also, I don't know, it just made me kind of appreciate the amount of work that went into it. I mean. Yeah, when you have to have like those rigs set up, and you gotta like, figure out how to get the legs out of the shot, and then there's like I saw like a shot where it's like you had 3 different versions of Thea's character, like the legs person, and then like Elle Fanning, and then like her stunt double, and they're all kind of like got their own degrees of like chopped in half, and it's like it's insane, like the amount of work that went into this. Like it really does make me appreciate it. And like even just the CGI, in fact, like I will say that there were some points where it was like I don't really understand what I'm looking at. Like it's a little dark and hard to see. Like the fight scene between him and his brother at the start, I thought was kind of like a little difficult to follow at times.
Okay, yeah,
but for what it's worth, they did a fantastic job. Like everybody on the set, like putting together this movie. So kudos.
I agree, and like. The behind the scenes stuff, it's just a testament. We've talked about this before, but like the incredible work by VFX artists often goes like undersung, especially with the, I think fair like desire for directors to emphasize how they like to do everything practically and in camera with real sets and stuff like that. It's like, yeah, that's great. But VFX workers are amazing and frequently exploited by the industry, but it also speaks to like, we've talked about it before and actors talk about it all the time. It's like making a film in a lot of ways is an exercise in trust that the people who are working on the effects and the editing are going to make you look good in post, because like it's got to feel completely ridiculous to be walking around with someone in like bright blue pants on your back and a big blue screen and all that stuff. And it's like, this looks like shit right now, but we just have to trust that it's going to look good when we see it on the screen. It's I don't know, like movies are made by hundreds, if not thousands of people each, like, and everybody has a role to play, and it's nice to see it all come together. But we've been talking about her behind the scenes. But let's talk about like Elle Fanning as Thea the android a little bit as well. Our other protagonist.
Agreed. Yeah, she was a great character. I enjoyed her overall, and it was a great gag to have her like be cut in half for like the bulk of the movie. So it's like it just adds like a good layer to the story where it's like, okay, you got to treat her kind of as, or the android as a tool, bring her along. You got to strap her on your back and like, you know, I just thought that just added some great stuff to the plot.
Yeah.
Like even just like when her legs were kind of reactivated and they were just walking to her body. Like that was a great gag. I thought that was so funny and it worked out really well. Like, okay, Predator, just walk this way and just follow the legs and you'll find who you're looking for. I thought that was very clever. But yeah, Thea's quirky. She's kind of silly. So she provides some decent comic relief at times in this movie. At times, I think it kind of borders on too silly, but overall, I like it. I just like, before we hopped on this episode, I did some research and went on some Reddit threads, just like, what do people think of this movie? And I'd seen some people complaining online that this movie kind of feels Disney-fied in a way, you know, and that Thea's synth character was kind of part of that problem for it. And I think the Disney-ified comments mainly come from like the way the plot was structured and the found family, and like there's not as much just like gratuitous violence or like gore, I think, as like in the original Predator. Maybe I'm misreading that, but so I disagree with like the comments because I don't think that this movie was as scary or gory as the original Predator, but I don't think it needs to be. You know, Badlands is its own thing in the franchise, and I think it deserves the right to take risks and include unique characters that we haven't seen before, like Thea, and I think Thea's great.
Yeah, I think she's great too, and I've seen some weird comments about her and the role in the movie, and like some weird guy complaining about like, it's like, this is just another example of the forced feminization of franchise films. It's like guys, can y'all just enjoy anything at all? Like, is your existence, are you determined to be a miserable asshole about everything? Like, especially
seems that way.
Especially in like Predator started with Arnold, but it's like Alien has always had like female characters as the central lead figures. Like, Ripley's as old as the franchise, man. I don't know what you're fucking talking about. But it's just, you know, they make money by being outraged because all their like fans are, you know, in that space. Whatever. We talk about this shit all the time. But I remember reading too that the part of the inspiration for Thea being like on Deck's back in like half body form was inspired visually by The Empire Strikes Back, that section where Chewie has to carry C-3PO around because he hasn't been able to put them back together yet, which is a fun, like, I don't know, it's just a fun visual dynamic for a buddy road trip movie, which in some ways I suppose this is. I also really like Thea too because she is just so earnestly kind and supportive throughout. Like, I know at this point several of the android characters from the Alien franchise are good guys, like Bishop and Andy from Alien Romulus, the most recent one. But I think both Ash in the original film and David in the Prometheus films like leave such an impact on us as characters that I sort of expected Thea to end up being more duplicitous. And like, to be fair, she does deceive Deck for a while, but she's still working to protect him from the company and ends up siding with him against her sister and Weyland-Yutani. I guess Tessa is worth talking about as well because she's also played by Elle Fanning, and she sort of goes the opposite direction. Like, Thea becomes more human in a way and bonds with the people around her through her experiences, and Tessa sort of feels like that bond she had with Thea was a mistake and ends up becoming less human over the course of the movie and is very cold by the end of it.
Yeah, Tessa was an interesting addition. I didn't see it coming either, but I liked it too because you get this two sides of the same coin, and I think it works really well because then she basically becomes the antagonist of the story, well, really, the corporation is Weyland-Yutani, which we'll get to in a bit. But like she embodies it really well. This kind of cold corporate entity. And yeah, I thought that was a really good counterbalance to Thea as well. And it's interesting to see kind of like, the directions that they took, because like their sensitivity was enhanced compared to other androids. So it was like, one went in the direction of becoming more human because of her sensitivity, and the other one, because of her sensitivity, it just kind of made her more robotic in a way, because she just thought of it more as like a way to analyze things and exploit them.
And I think what's interesting too is like Thea's like greater capacity for empathy and like learning, I think allows her to sort of manipulate Tessa and the other synths towards the end, when they have Deck captured and she's trying to like get him out. Basically, she's like, "Oh no, you don't. This is not an ideal one. Like, you don't want him. This is not." She's like trying to play to Thea or to Tessa's biases on like the Yautja to help her friend, because she feels bad for getting him captured, basically.
Yeah. Well, and I have this idea too that it's logical to send an all synthetic crew on this mission. It just logistically that makes sense. Less margin for error. But I feel like, to me at least, it kind of takes a little bit of tension out of the movie for me, because there's no humans on this expedition at all. And I'm not saying that we needed humans in this movie at all. But when you have just like a crew that's like all the members are expendable, they're void of emotion, except for like these two that are kind of sensitive. So I feel like as an audience, you're like, well, who do I connect to here? Like there's, I don't know. I just feel like you kind of need like a human face on screen to connect. And, Thea fills that role. But I don't know. I feel like it kind of takes a little bit of tension out of the story a little bit. But at the same time, this movie isn't really about humans. It's about the Yautja and Deck, really. So,
yeah, and I think too, though, I hear what you're saying, but I think part of the like challenge they set for themselves when writing this movie was to make a Predator movie with no humans. Like that was their initial goal, and part of the way they made it work was implementing the Weyland-Yutani androids and the higher sensitivity versions of that played by Elle Fanning. So I get what you're saying. I didn't personally feel that, because I do think, aside from Tessa, the rest of them are just, they're all the same guy, and they are just cannon fodder for the final fight, which I think works fine. But yeah, if this movie were maybe more focused on them as leads, I would probably agree with that more. But since they are just like, the foot soldier cannon fodder, I didn't mind it so much. But
yeah, I agree. If it was like a longer movie, if they wanted to make it even longer, because it's a pretty short movie, actually, all things considered. But like they could have had like a B plot. Yeah, like they could have had a small B plot of like a human crew members who are like on board, like trying to like navigate it, and maybe it could have added some more attention to the story, because it's like, oh, I feel for them, and then they die or something. But again, not necessary at all here. Yeah. And I agree, it wasn't the thing that they wanted to focus on.
Right. But we've been sort of talking around it a lot, but this is a very direct crossover with the Alien franchise. We have the Weyland-Yutani Corporation as a major force, a lot of synthetics, and so they're sort of on their own mission on this planet, as well as Deck. What is their mission, I guess?
So they're here to capture the Casilisk, the formidable monster type apex predator that's unkillable, or just about, that Deck, our predator character, is also there to hunt down and kill. And if you are unfamiliar with the Alien franchise, I don't know why you're listening to our podcast, but we love everybody who comes and listens. But if you're unfamiliar, Weyland-Yutani is this corporate conglomerate. They're ruthless. They're from the Alien franchise, and they're often kind of the shadow antagonist of the Alien franchise, the one who's kind of like pulling the strings. Aside from the xenomorphs themselves, they are the bad guys in the Alien franchise.
I'd say the xenomorphs are like forces of nature. They are just creatures doing what they do, and then Weyland-Yutani is the like real villain because it's the one that puts all the characters in the situation where they're forced to contend with the xenomorphs.
Yeah. Well, yeah, their whole thing is like profits over people. Like they're looking for these weapons in the universe. They want to expand their control as much as they can, and so that's why they're looking for the xenomorphs and everything.
Yeah. You're saying, wait, Niles. I think like you're telling me that the movies are painting a corporation as a bad guy who thinks people are expendable. Are you telling me that Alien is woke?
I think, I'm sorry to ruin your childhood, but yes, I think it's woke.
I never knew that. Oh no.
Oh, that's the reality of the franchise. I'm sorry, but
oh shit,
that's what it is.
Well, I guess I have to burn all my DVDs now in protest.
Boycott Alien. Boo, bad movies.
I support Weyland-Yutani.
The corporation's done more for me than Sigourney Weaver ever has done. So
this is true.
But yeah, I mean, this is kind of, if you ignore AVP and AVP Requiem, Badlands is kind of the first movie to make this direct connection since those movies between the Predator and Alien franchises, and I like this direction. I love it. I think it's a great idea.
Yeah. How do you feel about Alien versus Predator in general? I have not seen either of these movies, so this is your area of expertise.
It really is, honestly, because I watched AVP far too many times, like in middle school, high school years. I thought it was one of the coolest movies I've ever seen. I thought the premise of it was so fun. And I think it is a cool idea, like Alien, a literal xenomorph versus Predator, like the two big baddies of the 80s. If you discount Terminator, like those are it, the xenomorph and Predator. And I think it's a great idea. And I used to watch this movie a lot when I was younger. I thought it was great. But now that I'm a little older and I understand how film is a little bit better now, I've realized how terrible AVP is actually as a movie. It's not a good movie. I never saw Requiem, but AVP is just, it's bad. I think it was trying to piggyback, or at least like there was like this trend, I think like in the early 2000s, where it was like Freddy versus Jason, like, you know, that movie had like a bunch of hype and this face-off kind of movie, and I think AVP was trying to cash in on that idea to a certain extent, where they're like, hey, we could make some money here. People love both of these movies. Let's put both of these into it in the same movie. And the movie, I think, is about 2 hours long, and there's probably like 20 minutes of the Alien and Predator actually fighting each other, so it's kind of a little disappointing in that regard. So it's like, it's hyping it up for so much, then you're like, what? They barely had one fight. What happened here? But and like the plot of the movie is kind of dumb too. The lore is very dense. So let me try to explain it very quickly, because if you really want the whole thing, you can go watch the movie. But basically, the Predators, the Yavcha, came to us like when civilization was just starting, and they gave us technology and helped our civilization start and grow. And in exchange, we would sacrifice, like probably every year or something like that, the Predators would come, and we would sacrifice maybe 10 of our own to allow the aliens to be made. So the Predators could hunt the deadliest game of all, xenomorphs, you know, and that's it, basically. That's the whole movie. Yeah, it's kind of absurd too, because they figure it all out, because they're like, oh, there's a pyramid at the bottom, like covered in ice in Antarctica. We got to go there, and that's where they find all these secrets. And it's like, what? What? This is boggling my mind. Like, how could that be possible? And like, the setup for it is very similar to Prometheus in a lot of ways. Like, all these scientists come together and they're like, look at these signs. Look at these signs. We need to go to this place. And that's why they go to the Antarctica to find this thing. So it's kind of simultaneously cool and very odd. But yeah, I never watched Requiem because it kind of looked like garbage. So
I remember the Face-Off movies. Like, I remember everybody in the third grade classroom of mine was really excited about Freddy versus Jason and Alien versus Predator. So they did a real good job at appealing to third graders with that premise, because that is the type of thing that you like tell a little child. It's like, could you imagine if this guy fought this guy?
Yeah, right. Like, oh, what if Darth Vader fought Superman? Who would win? It's like, great.
What if Palpatine fought Megatron?
I might actually watch that. That would be hilarious. But so this is my very long way of saying that their first attempt of connecting the two franchises was very rushed and way too complicated and just straight up dumb. I think the way that they're connecting them now is much better. I like the way that they're doing this because it makes more sense. It's subtle. It's kind of slow. And they're not just immediately barreling towards like, okay, we got to get the Predator and the Alien in the same room fighting each other as soon as quick as possible. It's like, no, let's take our time. Let's just introduce Weyland-Yutani in this film and have the synth work with the Predator. And like, you got to give it time to kind of naturally build. And I could see like maybe an Alien Earth or something like that. Maybe in the second season, they introduce, there's a Predator kind of like element to it or something like that. Like I don't know how they'll do it, but it's like, yeah, you can give this time to breathe and grow and build. And then eventually you can get to that point with the xenomorph fighting Predator again in a situation that makes a lot more sense and is not absurd.
Or it's absurd in the right ways, you know.
Yes, that's the right way to say it.
Yeah, we also see the alien mech in this movie as well.
Right.
One of a couple nice inversions that this movie does, because like obviously we mostly know the mech, you know, our little nostalgia brains know it from like the thing that Ripley uses to fight the alien queen in Aliens. But this time it's an antagonist, just like the Predator is typically the antagonist, but this time he's the protagonist. It's and I agree with I agree with the point you're making though. Like, this is honestly a really nice way to connect the two franchises. I have not seen the AVP movies, as I've already said, but that style of versus movie is just not something that appeals to me in general. Like, even something like Batman v Superman, I am just like, okay, yeah, they're the good, they're both the good guys, but they don't trust each other, so they're going to fight, but eventually they're going to team up. And I'm like, I have other problems with that movie as well, but that hook usually does not entice me very much. I liked Marvel's Civil War movie. That was sort of an exception to that rule for me, but it's just like, you know, I'd rather the good guys just kind of be the good guys and fight other people. Like, it's just because
agreed.
It's an arc that doesn't terribly interest me. But the way this movie did it, where both franchises are just sort of in the same universe and elements of each franchise can interact with each other and tell their own stories, like, that's much more fun for me. Yeah. I also enjoyed the twist in the plot that the Callisk hunt, and the Callisk was not like the main antagonistic force for the film, and that their little companion Bud was actually a baby Callisk. I thought that was great. I think it's I think it's more satisfying having Tessa, Thea's like sister, and Weyland-Yutani be the main threats, and Deck like having to rescue the thing he went there to hunt in the first place, because he's like, his priorities have changed, you know? He made a friend and he wants to look out for his friend, and he's looking out for Thea by going to rescue her. It's like the hunt turns into a rescue mission, and you know, tad predictable, but I think it works well in that found family structure, you know?
Agreed. No, I thought it was very clever, and, you know, a little on the nose when like the Kalisk sniffs him and is like, oh, she recognizes the scent, and it's like, oh, there. Now the audience can put two and two together in your head, and it's like, I'm totally fine with it. It works. The baby Kalisk is honestly cute enough. It's no Baby Yoda, but it's cute enough. Well, Dylan, let me ask you this: what do you think is next in store for the Predator franchise?
So the way this ended, I think it's a very character-centric cliffhanger. So I think we will see more of these characters, and I honestly would like to. I'd also like to see the main cast here interact with Naru, Amber Midthunder's character from Prey, and maybe the main characters from Predator, Killer of Killers. Like, to be as spoiler-free as possible, that movie sets up a way for all three sets of protagonists to interact with each other. I would be curious to see what type of movie that would be. Like, who would be on whose side? What would they be fighting against? But I think it feels like the three movies are set up to where they can dovetail into each other in some sort of like team up thing or something like that. What about you? What do you think is coming up next? Or what would you
that's
like
an
to
interesting
see?
idea. Yeah, that's a very interesting idea. And yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing like another story that follows this core trio at least, especially since like at the end of the movie, like you said, it ended on a cliffhanger. Deck and them, they go back and they kill his dad. So good job on that. But then his mother starts to arrive in the distance with her clan, it looks like. And as far as I know, I'm not trying to assume any genders of the previous Predators, but I don't think that we've seen a female version of the Yautja. So I don't know if they look any different or anything like that, but I think it could be cool to see if there's any differences there, or if like how her clan is different, if they want to kind of continue that. I'd be willing to check it out. Like, I think that's kind of an interesting idea, and it's fun to think about this trio, like a Predator, a Synth, and a Casilisk, just going around and causing mischief in the universe or the galaxy. Like, sure, sign me up. That sounds like a fun trio story. I think I might have mentioned this in Prey as well, but I think I saw like a comment online that I still stand behind 100%. I totally agree with it, because Prey is like this movie where they dropped a Predator basically in like 1770s or something, like 1700s or 1600s. America, and Native Americans are everywhere, but you also see like French trappers and like some other kind of early colonialists in a way. And it's just a cool, unique historical setting to drop like this monster into. So I'm like, I kind of would like to see some more of that too. Bless you.
Thank
you. Like, I think it would be cool to see like a Predator dropped into like, feudal Japan so he can fight samurai. Like, that's a cool enough concept. I'm into that. Or like drop him into ancient Rome so he can fight some gladiators or some triarii or something like that. Like, I don't know, just some more historical settings to drop a Predator in. Like that, I think that would be really neat. Especially since,
you should watch Predator, Killer of Killers, because that is exactly what that movie is.
Perfect.
There are like three, well, I guess 4 short films in it, but 3 eras.
I see.
Predator dropped into the Viking era. You get one into feudal Japan and one into World War II. And you get a character fighting them in each of those eras. So your wish has been granted. You just didn't know.
It's already been granted. Yay! Perfect. Well, I can't wait to watch that. And yeah, exactly. Like, I think Predator movies, they don't need to be very deep. Like I said before, they're about action, adventure, just badass stuff. So I'm going to watch that sooner rather than later, because that sounds awesome.
Yeah. I think like the appeal of the Predator movies I've seen is like the resourcefulness of the protagonist and how they overcome their respective like Predator antagonist, or in this case, android antagonists. That's like the ingenuity of how they overcome a stronger force is what makes these movies work. But I don't know. I really recommend this. I had a great time. I don't have much more to say about it other than that. You have any final thoughts on Predator Badlands?
No, I would just say I'd recommend this if you like Predator movies or you like action movies. Like, this is going to meet that mark for you. I think it's fun. Fun enough. You'll have a good time with these movies if you like those previous Predator movies.
Agreed. And with that, let's transition into some other stuff. Talk about what we've been watching, reading, playing, etc. Niles, what have you been up to since our last episode?
So just a few things. Finished the latest series of the Great British Bake Off, Series 16. Such a fun season. It's always fun with all these bakers. Are always so talented. They do a good job with making you feel the emotions in the tent. And so congratulations to the winner. Won't say her name in case you're still catching up, but she did a great job. We also watched this series called Gone Girls, the Long Island serial killer on Netflix. It's about, I don't know if you heard about it, Dylan. I didn't really hear about it either, but there's, I can't remember all the names, so I apologize. But out in Long Island, there was a woman who was doing sex work who went missing, and it took the police a really long time to getting around to look around and search for her. And during their search, they found in this one area of the Long Beach kind of stretch, can't remember exactly where, but very close to like the coast, they found a body. And then they found more bodies. And then they found more bodies. There was like 10 bodies basically that they recovered. And like and none of them were like that woman. But they eventually found her as one of the bodies like further away. But it took them a while, and they found so many along the way. There was like over 10, I think. And it was just kind of linking it all together, like who could have done this, like all the different. It's a great procedural docuseries for true crime, and it's actually about a case that's like still going through the courts too. Like they figured out who most likely did it. Like it's really hard to disprove that this guy didn't do it. But like I don't think that they've completed the trial yet, if I remember right, but like it's still kind of ongoing. He hasn't been fully sentenced yet, but it's pretty clear that he did it, in my opinion. But it was a really interesting series, and just really highlighted again how when it comes to people doing sex work, the police often will not act as quickly to protect those people, or they won't put in the same amount of resources to find those people as they would for, your average Joe Schmo who's working a 9 to 5 doing finance kind of stuff. Great series.
It's always disappointing to hear that. And honestly, I think we had a really good conversation about like the nuances of sex work in our episode on The Menu from way back when. It's one of my favorite episodes of ours. If you're interested in like the perspectives of sex workers, we try to talk about that a lot and cite a lot of them in that conversation. So go check out that episode if that's something you're more looking into, because they often like fall through the cracks of society due to the stigmatization of their profession, and it's not fucking fair.
It really isn't. But yeah, that was a great conversation. Episode 53. I just looked it up.
Oh my god! Oh yeah, the poster.
That was a great one. And then like the most other recent thing that I watched was this movie called Election from 1999. It's like this really strong political satire. Reese Witherspoon, and I'm blanking on his name, but the guy who played Ferris Bueller.
Oh, Matthew Broderick.
So he plays a high school teacher. She's playing a high schooler who's like really peppy and like an overachiever. And she's like running for student body president. And he's like the teacher that kind of runs the student body president as well, or the student body council. And like, it's a whole movie about like ethics and morals and kind of the decisions you make along the way. And like, what's the difference between your morals and ethics? And, he makes some decisions along the way that are kind of like, influenced by his own bias against her. And like, he's like, just like, she's an overachiever, I don't like her kind of vibe, and trying to like, I don't know. It was great, and I think it's super relevant to the times too, because he was like she obviously wants to make the school a better place. She's really qualified for it. She's a go-getter. She knows what she's doing.
Mm-hmm.
And because he doesn't like her, he tells like the most popular kid at the school, this jock who's just like a bonehead who is like really well-intentioned but an idiot. Quite frankly, he's like, you should run for student body president. And it's like, just because he's popular, he almost wins, you know, or like he gets very close. And it's a very tight race, but it's like, I thought it was just very powerful, especially since like, you know, more popular people or populace are generally the ones who like rise in elections over like people who actually work really hard and know what they're doing or qualified for the job. Yeah. Not looking at any politicians in particular these days, but I'll let you guys figure that one out.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that transitions, I guess I didn't put it in here, but something I watched is like on Tuesday night, I watched the election coverage, and you know, I feel a fucking glimmer of hope for the first time in a really long time. Like,
yeah.
You know, obviously, like we had some important bills here in Colorado, but the highest profile race, I would say, was the New York City mayoral race, where Zoran Mamdani won by over 50%, you know, beating out like, and there's so many in the media trying to downplay his accomplishments, or people who tried to sabotage him because, like you were just saying in that movie, like they don't like what he stands for, you know, that he's like,
exactly,
he's a genuine, like, you know, he's done the work. He has a solid platform. He wants to make New York City better by, you know, doing a little bit of taxation on the richest people in the world, and they don't fucking like that. So, like, he won against a Democrat and a Republican because the fucking guy, the son of Mario Cuomo, would not drop out of the race after he lost the primary, and he got trounced again. So, you know, kudos to Zoran, kudos to, like, you know, people who are like actively trying through policy to improve things. And it's always good to see. So that gave me a little bit of hope, which makes it easier to read 1984, which is a very depressing book.
Yeah. Yeah, that one's hard.
Yeah, but I think I talked about it last episode, but for whatever reason, it wasn't on my high school curriculum, as I think that book typically is. So, you know, I figured shit's bad right now. Let's read the book about how authoritarianism is like bad and the ways it creeps into your life. It's very interesting. I'm still not super far into it, but just like the regimented nature of their lives, how they have the like 2 minutes hate thing that they all do at work, where they're like deliberately riled up into a hateful rage. And then even our protagonist, who is like against the like establishment government, it's so interesting seeing how his hatred sometimes becomes fixated on like women around him. Which is something we see a lot too. Like people who are like disillusioned with their society seem to fall into this like angry misogyny, and seeing that from this character who is our point of view into this world is interesting to read as well. But you know, I'll have more to say as I get further into the book.
When you get to the Ministry of Truth and the Thought Police, that shit is fucking brutal.
Well, and he's talking about too that I love the element of, it's like, I remember things that I know are true, but the government has made it so they are not true. And if I'm the only person who like, and it's sort of what's happening now in our administration, like they're just saying certain things are the way they are. And it's like, we all know that's not true, but they just keep saying it, and the media keeps parroting it for them. So to the like person not paying attention, it does just become the truth because every outlet is telling them that. And it's very harrowing in that way to see those reflections, you know, because this book was written in the 50s, so like a pretty long time ago, in the aftermath of World War II, obviously, but like it does mirror a lot. Like it's a cliche to be like, oh my god, it's just like 1984, but you know, it fucking is. Sorry. Like
when it's happening in real life, it's like it's you can't ignore it. You really can't.
No. But I've also started the new season of Star Wars Visions. You know, we've done episodes on the first 2 seasons. Maybe we'll do one on this season. I don't know. It depends on what's coming out. But I'm a few episodes in. This season is I think for the first time we're getting sequels to some of the episodes from season 1. So
awesome.
The Duel gets a sequel. The black and white one about the Ronin Sith guy. The Ninth Jedi got a sequel, and then I think the Village Bride has a follow-up as well, but I haven't gotten to that one yet. So it's like I'm enjoying that, like, some of the studios are coming back and continuing the stories of their characters, because we talked about wanting that in our episodes or seasons 1 and 2 episodes. Also, I watched season 4 of The Witcher, the Netflix adaptation of the Witcher novels. This is the first season with Liam Hemsworth having taken over the role of Geralt, because Henry Cavill left to be Superman again, and then his version of Superman got canceled, so he just left.
Bummer.
And this season is very interesting because they are adapting my least favorite books in the series, but this is the season that I think is most faithful to the books, and it might be the best season also. It's like they invent a whole story for Yennefer, because in the books Yennefer just kind of disappears for a while and nobody knows where she is. You can't do that in a show where you have to have an actor on contract, so they make her a storyline that I actually really liked. It kind of felt very Battle of Hogwarts-y to me as well, which was fun. I liked Liam Hemsworth a lot as Geralt. I think he does a great job. I love his dynamic with all the other characters, and series storyline plays out pretty much exactly how it did in the books, I think. I think the show is as good as it's ever been, better than it's ever been, actually. And I hope it finishes strong in season 5. Apparently they already filmed season 5. So it's gonna wrap up in a 5th season. And it's historically not been a very good show. It's probably the weakest iteration of The Witcher that there is, but I think they actually took a lot of the real lessons to heart and worked to make a really good season, not a pretty good season of TV. And I'm annoyed with some of the fans and their response, because I'll go on IMDb and look at all the user reviews of the episodes, because all the episodes are rated at 3 to 4.5 stars. And I'm like, this is not 3 to 4 star TV. It's better than that. And almost every negative review mentions Henry Cavill. It's just it's not this is why Henry Cavill left. Oh, it's not as good without Henry Cavill. Henry Cavill. It's like, guys, he fucking left the show. Okay, he left the show. Are you a fan of the show, or are you a fan of Henry Cavill? If you're a fan of Henry Cavill, just be excited for the fucking Highlander thing he's doing. It's very frustrating, and it speaks to an inability of a lot of people on the internet to engage in good faith criticism of the media they're watching. It was just kind of annoying to me, but
I see that.
Also, it's very frustrating. But yesterday I watched Begonia, the new Yorgos Lanthimos movie starring Emma Stone and Jesse Plemons, and introducing Stavros Halkias, the comedian, into the Yorgos universe. But
all right,
wild movie. Yeah. Wild movie. If you like Poor Things and Kinds of Kindness, I feel like you'd probably enjoy this too. It's very darkly funny, pretty sad in a lot of ways as well. But the premise is basically Jesse Plemons is a conspiracy theorist, very down on his luck, and he becomes convinced that the CEO of this nearby pharmaceutical company, played by Emma Stone, is an alien who is causing all of his problems. So he and his cousin are like, we have to kidnap her and get her to let us meet the emperor of the aliens, and that will save Earth. And that is the premise of the movie.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, it is. But it play the part of the sad stuff about it is it really does play into sort of the QAnon type conspiracy people, and how people who have been kind of fucked over and disenfranchised, they're looking for an answer, and they find themselves in these online groups that just like feed their brain poison basically. And it's really sad in that regard because it felt very real to that experience that I think a lot of people have, seen or gone through themselves over the last 10 years. But I'd recommend it to people who like the last couple of Yorgos Emma Stone movies. If those are not your thing, I don't think you'll like this, but I really enjoyed it.
Cool.
And then the last thing I've been doing is playing the game Dispatch. If you're familiar with Telltale Games, they're episodic narrative games that they used to do before they shut down. This studio is founded by some Telltale alums, and the premise is you play as the main character, voiced by Aaron Paul from Breaking Bad, is a sort of a superhero who, like an Iron Man type, who lost his suit. It's broken and he has no superpowers. So he gets hired to be a dispatcher for a superhero like organization. So he's behind a desk, like sending out a ragtag team of former supervillains to go like help people. And it's episodic, narrative based. It's a lot of. I like it so far. I've played the first 2 episodes. The gameplay is light, like even lighter than like The Wolf Among Us and The Walking Dead were. But you send out whichever hero you think has the right traits for each individual job at your dispatch screen. But most of it is just the cutscenes. Like it is like an animated series. But I think it's really fun so far. I'm really enjoying it.
That's a cool premise.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a really, really creative idea. And Aaron Paul's in it. Laura Bailey from Critical Role and The Last of Us video games is a main character. Alana Pierce from Rooster Teeth and IGN voices a character as well. It's cool. I'm gonna keep playing. I like it a lot. But that's all from me this week. We'll be back for another episode in 2 weeks' time. I don't know what we're reviewing yet, but we'll review something. But until then, Niles, where can people find you online?
You can follow me on Instagram at NilesGotNoStyles, and you can also follow us right here on this podcast. We're here every few weeks. Dylan, what about you? Where can people follow you online?
On Instagram at DylanD1026, on Twitter at D-Day Movies, on YouTube at D-Day Movies, and like Niles said, you can find both of us here at Play Pause Rewind on YouTube and your podcast platform of choice. All of that is linked in the description below. Thank you all so much for watching and listening. We really appreciate it, and we will see you guys next time. Goodbye.
Bye.